Well, everybody, it seems that here at HCI we're in the business of bridge building, and that's what we're going to attempt to do with our next leadership conversation as I welcome our honored guests to the stage, because the challenge has been set throughout the day so far, building bridges between education, the world of work, all with technology advancing apace. So we are unafraid now to take a range of different perspectives. You will recognize many of my honored guests. I'll remind you who they are just in case. His Excellency, Professor Mohammed Al-Hayaza, is the president of the Al Faisal University here in Saudi Arabia. Your Excellency, a fabulously international university, students from around the world. Just give us a sense of the numbers.
Yes. Thank you all. First, I would like to thank you and, with you as the moderator and with excellent panels sitting here. I'm sure we are in a lively and thoughtful discussion.
We are.
And first, I would like to start by thanking the organizer and the HCI 2025, led by His Excellency Yusuf Al-Bnayan, and also and his team. And before I go to your question, since the session is talking about the leadership, we are lucky here in the kingdom. We do have the visionary leadership. We do have now, this forum, this excellent, timely forum, and very, very important, is under the patronage of His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, Prime Minister Mohammed bin Salman. And also, he is the chairman of the program, the Human Capital Development Program. So you know how important this to the kingdom, to Vision 2030, to His Royal Highness, and also His Majesty King Salman's leadership.
It is. Your Excellency, I'm going to pause us because I want your opening remarks in a moment, but I want us to understand just the variety of perspectives we've got.
Okay.
So I'm coming back to you, but Dr. Shamla Chetty is with us from Duke Corporate Education. Duke is a globally renowned name in terms of the university, but this is helping executives learn by doing, Shamla.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for having me on the panel today, but it is an absolute pleasure to be here. One, it's a very important time in history and the world to talk about leadership and education. Fundamentally, we're living in a time of change, where business is questioned, where society is an enabler for that change. Whether it is leadership models, whether it's education, we're at a time where everybody needs to work together to say that we are aligning to purpose, and what does that mean?
And we want that in practice. I'll just quickly tell us who our final guests are. Professor Sergei Guriev leads the London Business School, one of the world's leading business schools, founded in the 1960s, but very much preeminent to this day. You've been in post how long, Professor?
About a year.
About a year. You've certainly hit the ground running. Welcome to our panel. Meanwhile, from an industry perspective as well, I would certainly say Tanuj is with us. Tanuj Kipalashrami, who's the Chief Strategy and Talent Officer at Standard Chartered, a British multinational, but frankly, Tanuj, most of your business taking place around the world.
Yes, absolutely. Fantastic to be here. Emerging Markets Bank, 50-plus markets, and looking forward to the conversation today.
Good. Well, our final panelist is Jeffrey. Jeffrey Max, our entrepreneur in residence. Magna Petra is the name. You're not going to infinity and beyond, but you are going to the moon, Jeffrey.
We are. Our mission is a bit audacious, but we think very achievable, which is the collection and return of rare isotopes, helium-3 in particular, from the surface of the moon. And this is used not only in border security, but in quantum computing and in nuclear fusion.
Right, so you can see the sort of different perspectives from entrepreneurs, from industry, from world-leading business schools, university, corporate education. But what if we said this? You've only got a couple of minutes to set out your stand. Our challenge to rethink the frameworks, the strategies we'll need to bridge the divides we've been talking about. And we won't go down the order. I'll come back to you, Your Excellency. Tanuj, will you get us started with your thinking? And then we'll all be all ears.
See, the success of a good moderator is when he's full of surprises. So it wasn't meant to be in this order, but I take the challenge. Look, thank you. First, it's great to be here with all of you. I'm actually delighted to be with this panel. I represent a practitioner's view. Like I said, we are an emerging markets bank, 100,000 plus employees. 70% of our workforce are millennials, Gen Zs, and really, as a bank, as an emerging markets bank, we are at the forefront of all the big macroeconomic changes that are happening in the world. You know, the geopolitics, advent of emerging technologies, what's happening with sustainability, et cetera. And thinking about how do we evolve our workforce to evolve the changing preferences of our clients is a big part of the conversation we are having in our boardrooms. 3 quick points I'll make. First is, we are very clear that businesses today need to stop obsessing about employment and start thinking about employability. You know, we spoke a lot about generating employment as one of the things we have done. We are a 170-year-old bank, but the conversations for us have now shifted. You know, with the world of work changing so rapidly, what we are now talking about is employability. Employability is a higher order stuff than employment, and employability means continuous learning, continuous reinvention, and challenging yourself to keep pace with the time. So that's the first one. Secondly, I will say, we believe jobs have stopped being a currency of work. Skills have become a currency of work. So this idea of businesses having a war for talent has now replaced with war for hot skills, because there are clearly skills, data, AI, green skills, but also the human skills, you know, the new leadership models that Sharmila speaks about so much are going to be critical as we think about workforces for the future. And the last thing that I'm going to say is that curiosity and learning agility are 2 very underrated leadership skills. So in a lot of the work that we are doing in leadership, we are talking about learning agility and curiosity much more than we have over the last few years.
First class. So, Jeffrey, I'll be interested in a minute to see whether this tallies with what you're after as a talent-hungry entrepreneur. But essentially, honoured guests, Tanuj has set down the gauntlet there, the challenge for today's learning organisations and institutions. So, Sergey, pick up the baton. Our team have set us a timer of 3 minutes, but you should feel free, we know we're on the spot, to come in under that. How do you see it?
Thank you very much, Oli, and thank you very much for inviting me to this panel and to this amazing conference. And indeed, we hear what Tanuj is saying. She's not alone. All the leading businesses are asking those questions because we live in the world where many things are changing. Let me pick up just on 2 changes, big trends. One is, of course, technology and especially AI. And the other one is demographic transition. Here, we are full of young people in this country. Some other countries are aging, but both young and older countries are going to live longer. Our careers are extending, so all of us will switch careers several times. For this reason, and also for the reason that technological change is not only fast, but it's finally accelerating. AI produces new models, and the new models actually program new models. This is first time when the technological advance reproduces itself and accelerates itself. So you need to learn new skills all the time. And since your career is longer, it's impossible to think that you can get 1 degree. Even LBS MBA is not enough to remain skilled for the rest of your life. And this is why we take the challenge that Tanuj has set seriously. And we roll out several innovations as we speak. One we simply call Forever Learning. So we tell our alumni, look, we know you've done a great job, you got a great degree, but the world has changed. Yes. What we taught you before should be updated, upgraded, renewed, so come back. And so we provide various offers to our alumni where they can come back and upgrade their skills. Then we also, of course, innovate with people learning from each other. And this is, of course, the most important feature about any university. But research-intensive university like we are, LBS, is even more relevant there because people come to see new ideas coming from professors who produce ideas and not just summarize somebody else's ideas. This is what AI can do without research professors. But people come to listen to groundbreaking research, but also people come to listen to each other. And that's why we are rolling out an executive education program, which we call Corporate 100, which is in between open programs and customized programs, where we have an invitation-only community of 100 organizations, which send their executives from different levels to discuss new challenges together with the faculty and learn from each other. And this is, again, an idea where we can learn from each other faster and better.
I like it. Well, I hope Standard Charters is one of those, Tanuj.
We are going to talk about it
over
dinner.
Yes.
Well, we're doing deals. We're making forever learning, Your Excellency. That could be a new hashtag for our summit here. You're rising to this challenge in your own ways at Al Faisal University. Help us understand how.
Okay. First, we consider Al Faisal University is an international university within Riyadh. We have over 40% of our student body are international students. There is a great initiative within 2030 study in Saudi. So we are attracting more international students to come to study in Al Faisal. And we want to, prepare them for the future market. It is, fast transformation, fast change, rapid changes and things like that. So there's soft skills we have to equip our students with, and also we want them to, be, the critical things as a major component of our studies. We want them to be in the future a job creator, not they are looking for jobs. So basically we focus on preparing our students at the undergraduate level, and we do have very, different programs for graduates, accelerated programs, executive programs, all of the different types of programs. Those who are already working and they need to be reskilled, and because, to keep up with the changes, it is very important, and we provide them with all the, means they need to improve themselves and go on. So it is a lifelong journey, education. We just don't want them just graduated with their master or bachelor degree and that's it. No, with the changing, market, they always need to keep up. So the university is open. We always invite them, and we want them to always be part of the university. And we do have a short, after they graduate, of course, the foundation has to be there. We are not talking about eliminating, the typical education, but keep up with all the development. And in the meantime, we are shifting gradually from knowledge-based to skills-based to equip them and make them ready to the future. Yes, that's what we are doing at Al Faisal University.
Yeah, and the shift doesn't sound gradual to us. It is a pace. So I'm getting the gist from His Excellency and from Sergey. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. I think we've heard that before. Job creators, Jeffrey, hopefully music to your ears. Got some competition coming down the tracks from the universities of the world. Shamla, you're engaging with the people who are already leading the corporations, and yet you've got to invent a different type of learning. I suspect not always in the classroom.
Well, it has to be highly immersive. I think you can get content anywhere in the world and for free. It's about leading in the context of the environment, what is required. And, the leadership playbook is emerging from one organization, from one country, from one problem to the other. It's being relevant in the moment and aligning to the moment. It is not around one size fits all. So the whole notion of having modules, the same types of things, the question for me, will MBAs change? It has to change. It must change, because the models that we learned previously does not exist right now. Organizations are grappling with change, and how do we, from a custom education, align and be relevant to where the organization is, even in that moment, by changing and adapting, because change is happening at such speed. So being relevant, being present, listening to where organizations are going.
And we'll pull on that thread, because I want we'd love some examples of these partnerships in practice. Jeffrey, what are you making of this? Are we creating the entrepreneurs of the future? We're in safe hands. What would you add to the mix?
You know, I've been doing this entrepreneur thing for 40 years. And it's been across a wide range of industries: financial services, e-commerce, mobile payments, space. And as an entrepreneur, you're always faced with new opportunities. And I think what defines that entrepreneurial capability is the ability to ask, what if? What if we could do something? What if this were possible? And so entrepreneurs already live in this world of change, already live in this world of some level of uncertainty, right? If a business model isn't performing the way you expect, you pivot. And what I'm hearing in these sessions today is a lot of discussion around how do we structure pivoting in professional life and in personal life. And the topic that I haven't heard that I think is really important is personal resilience. Because when you wake up one day and the job that you've had for 10 years goes away, there's great talk about how we reskill and upskill and change, but emotionally, that's a very hard thing for people to process. And so one of the topics, one of the curricula items, which I think is very important, and it's not, you don't lay it on to an individual at the university level, undergrad, at the graduate level. You start with children. You start with, how do you create adults who have resilience, who have flexibility, who realize that their life is going to be a series of adventures. You know, articulate it as an adventure.
And that this is magnificent. So this is about mindset. This is about beyond the traditional skills. This is about resilience. And I want to pull on that even more in terms of other qualities. But let's shift gear. Let's get intensely practical. Tanush, what does a successful partnership look like in action? Because you can't deliver this alone.
So look, I mean, there's so many things that have been said, which I absolutely agree. Something that His Excellency said, which really resonates with me, is this gap between education and employability. And I think it's becoming very clear that the gap between education and employability is becoming wider and wider. And that is a space of collaboration between educational institutions, the experts on this panel, businesses, I would say policymakers, academics and entrepreneurs. There's a huge space for collaboration where there are some interesting experiments happening. I think there's some great work that's being done in the country that we are in today. Some of the examples, as Sergey said, are great. But I believe there's loads more that needs to be done, right? So the first point I will say is there's a space for collaboration there which hasn't been explored. The second thing I will say is when you think about skill building, it's not just in your technical skills, it's human skills, right? I try and avoid the word hard and soft skills. It's my unconscious bias. I like technical and human because a lot of the human skills around resilience, managing ambiguity, well-being in the flow of work. Personal resilience today is not about doing yoga in the office, on the Friday afternoon. It's really about how do you think about resilience and well-being in the flow of work are areas where the collaboration is quite critical. Yes. And I think, my colleagues can speak about it. We've got some fantastic collaborations going with colleagues. We've got future skills academies within Standard Chartered, which are both technical and human. It's a combination of on-the-job training, but also leveraging best-in-class curriculum of education institutions in an open source way, where we provide access to that. but actually doing a lot of community team-based learning. The idea of teams learning with each other is a big shift that I've seen in this space as well.
And it'll be fascinating to hear from our educators how they're rising to that. I commend to you Tanusha's book on skills, by the way. Actually, Shamla, this isn't just about preparing leaders for the world of work. It's about serving society as well. So I'm going to pick on you, forgive me, to give us an example of that in action, that new form of leadership.
Good. Thank you so much for that. And I think building on Tanusha's piece around communities, it plays a huge role. We cannot do this alone.
Yeah.
The whole notion about collaboration, about public sector, private sector, and communities have to work together as a full ecosystem. I think for me it is the piece that I'd like to share is around the Women Advancement Program. It wasn't about a social imperative. This is about an economic strategy between Duke Corporate Education, the public sector facet, and International Women's Organization, IWFSA, that did the 1,000 Women Initiative. Why? This was around, it was intentional. The women leaders that became part of Women's International Federation South Africa were CEOs that said, how do we contribute to the next CEO? How do we produce the next 2 deputy governors? How do we produce the governors? We wanting to become intentional. So the Duke Corporate Education did the academic lens, but it wasn't just the academic lens, as Tanush talked about. It's the art skills, the soft skills that are important, because we're teaching about, talking about resilient leadership. Women leaders need, but they also need courage too. So how do we embed that? And then exposing them to new markets, new learnings, taking them to different countries to bring in those learnings.
And that IWF partnership, I commend to all our guests to look at it in closer detail. So Sergey, the pressure is on because you're having to evolve the curriculum at what sounds a bit like light speed when we hear about these business transformations. How does that work in practice?
So in practice, it means we evolve the curriculum all the time. And so just give you an example. So a typical year in the life of London Business School is this year when we open an office in Saudi Arabia, when we launch this program called Corporate 100, where we actually roll out a 1-year MBA for students who already have done a 1-year master degree, like Master in Management. This is a big innovation for us because we are believers in 2-year MBA program like our American peers. And we roll out a new executive MBA, where one of the formats, we actually offer 2 formats, but one of the formats is very blended in the sense that you study 40% in class, 40% online, digital synchronous, and 20% digital self-paced. So if you have a job, you can actually learn, you can continue to study in London Business School without spending too much time away from office and home. Really and so these are, and of course we also look at curricula, we look at the integrated courses, we produce new case studies. This innovation is key exactly because we cannot ignore the skills that employers are demanding.
Right, so what's the challenge then? I wish we had a bit longer, Sergey, forgive me, because Jeffrey, the reality is, for millions of young people around the world, the land of entrepreneurship appeals to them. The world of large corporates does to some of them, not all. And their thinking is university, in what we see it as today, worth my time, my money, my energy. What do we need to plant into the minds of those budding entrepreneurs, lest they turn their back from what could be a very, very valuable chapter?
I think it's, with respect to my educational colleagues, I think it's about fostering a desire to learn, fostering curiosity, right? Because if we think about the impact of AI can give us a lot of answers, but we need to train people to ask the questions. Yeah. And that's not a natural thing, right? That's where we need to train. How can you take what you know? How can you take your knowledge and your curiosity and your insight and use the tools? Don't be afraid of the tools.
Yes.
Embrace them, right? And I think that the message in response to your question is just don't get lazy. Don't stop learning.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Can I,
here's
sorry,
a-
can I
yeah,
just jump?
go on, Tanush, go on.
Sorry. I do want to jump in because, 120% agree. And all I will say is that large legacy businesses like ours are developing the same skills and acquiring the same skills that entrepreneurs are.
It's true.
And that's the fascinating thing. How do you ask the what if questions? My favorite quote
Yes.
of the day is what we are asking our people to do as well, because the business models are disrupting so rapidly.
So it's such a good parallel, right? So here's a question I'd love us all to think about, but I'd like Your Excellency to answer. I met somebody earlier today who is quite literally starting a new university. So they're unencumbered by legacy systems, by the way they used to do things. What would be your piece of advice to that person starting with their blank sheet of paper or their blank screen?
Involve the industry, involve the market people as to help you build your curriculum. We do have advisory board for each department and each college. They are the one who are giving us what they want in our curriculum.
Yes.
So we prepare our graduate for the markets. So this is really very important to have them, a part of our, programs and colleges and departments to help building up. Also, collaboration is very important.
Yeah.
Collaborations we do have, for example, for Al Faisal, we do have very strong collaborations. We do have joint programs with very excellent universities. KAUST, for example, we do have accelerated master programs for our students. We have MD, PhD program with KAUST. We do have similar programs with international students, so with international universities. So collaboration is very important. So, and build the confidence within the university. So this is really important to
Helpful.
have.
Well, thank you, Your Excellency. Well, I secretly want to know what you all think, but I'm going to have to ask you afterwards for that one piece of advice, which we can then pass on. Perhaps it will be food for thought in the breaks. Well, Jeffrey, you can take us to the moon and back. Tanush, we will keep talking to you, but we won't mention the soft skills. Sergey, it's clear to us why you continue to lead one of the world's best business schools. Shamla, thank you for immersing executives around the world in learning by doing, and please keep doing what you're doing. And Your Excellency, thank you for leading by example. And that key word of not excluding the people that are going to most benefit from what you're providing, involving them, co-creating together, is going to ring in our ears. So to all of you, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you very much.